This week's We Need to Talk is, of course, yes, you guessed it, sponsored by Manscaped, our good friends. You can get 20% off all products at manscaped.com and free shipping, by the way, which is a big positive, by using the code FOOTBALLDAILY, all one word, no spaces. Please do go to manscaped.com, put that code in, because not only will you be helping to support the channel, but you'll also be getting a heck of a lot of bang for your buck. The Lawnmower 3.0 is out. Doogie Critchley uses it head to toe. That image is just absolutely horrifying, and he definitely doesn't. I've just thrown him under the bus. Nevertheless, I'm sure he would if he had hair on his head left. But yeah, like I said, Lawnmower 3.0 and all of their other products are 20% off with free shipping by using the code FOOTBALLDAILY, all one word, at manscaped.com. Please go and support the channel. Anyway, by now you know this is the show that looks at football on the internet over the past 7 days. 7 days that's seen a referee getting chased off the pitch in the Bulgarian fourth tier. Thomas Partey brushing his teeth at Arsenal's training ground. This is a weird one.
This is Thomas Partey. And sometimes Thomas don't brush his teeth. Sometimes Thomas don't brush his teeth at home, so he comes here and brushes his teeth. But you know what? It's all right because we love. Look at him. We love Thomas.
And Alexander Zinchenko sending his dog for a hot dog. Anyway, today we need to talk about England. Okay, we're talking about England for a third week in a row. It's absolutely unprecedented scenes that you guys at home are genuinely enjoying international content. I never thought I'd see the day. Usually when we put out any sort of international video, Southampton season. Yesterday, I asked you guys on Twitter to send me some ideas because I was fresh out. And following England's squad announcement by Big Gareth Southgate, lots of you guys at home wanted me to do a tier list of England's uncapped players because there were some included within that squad. And a quick note here, a warning, that yes, I did see that James Alcott did this on his YouTube channel last week. He did an 11 of England's uncapped players. If you haven't watched it already, please go and watch James Alcott. He's nearly on 100,000 subscribers. Let's get him over the line. It's an outstanding video. So I thought, look, I've had it suggested. James has done it. Let's do a little twist on it. And today I'm going to be putting about 35 uncapped players into a tier list that features 5 different categories. Deserves a go, which is basically the highest I'm giving someone in this if they've been uncapped. One for the future, injury call-up, very unlikely, and never happening. No chance. Okay, we're going to do this position by position, and we're starting with goalkeeper. I've only picked one name here because he was actually called up by Big Gazza yesterday, and that is Sam Johnston, and I think it's fully deserved. On Sunday Vibes this week, we talked about each club's most important players. That's coming out on Sunday, little spoiler for you. And Sam Johnston obviously has been West Brom's best player this season. If he has to spend another season in the Championship, I would be surprised. Very, very impressed by him all year. And do you know what? He's only 27, which in goalkeeping terms is still young. So I'm going to put him firmly in deserves a go category, because I actually agree with Gareth Southgate on this one. Okay, next up we've got Luke Ayling, who has had an outstanding season for Leeds, by the way. I'm taking nothing away from one of the most versatile players in the league. Played a bit of right back, played a bit at centre back, even played, I think, a little bit of time at left back, maybe a couple of games. But he is 29 now. And that right back position, as I've said on multiple areas, is our power position. I like that American word, power position. So I just think Luke Ayling's no chance, pretty unlikely, no chance, pretty unlikely. I don't want to be horrible and say no chance, so I'm going to say pretty unlikely. I just can't see this one happening, Luke. Matty Cash is the next name on the list then. What am I thinking for Matty Cash? He's only 23 years old, and Aston Villa have been outstanding this year defensively, but it's another right back. The power position, the double P. I'm putting him in injury call-up. I could have gone for one for the future there, but I think there's some other names in this uncapped list that I've got on screen that I'm looking at now in the right back role that I think are slightly ahead of him in the pecking order. Great trim though. I mean, it's an outstanding trim. And here is one of those players that I think is slightly ahead of him. Oh, I feel like this is harsh. Do I swap Matty Cash and Tariq Lamptey around? I'm going to put Tariq Lamptey in one for the future. He's only 20 years old, isn't he? Do I swap Matty Cash and Tariq Lamptey around? Because I think Matty Cash had a better season, but Tariq Lamptey had a bigger breakthrough. It's a tough one. I'm going to stick by my guns because I think in 3 years, Tariq Lamptey will be better than Matty Cash is now. That's harsh. No, I'm sticking by my guns. Tariq Lamptey one for the future. Matty Cash injury call-up. Scottish football fans, rejoice. I've got a Rangers player in here. I've got Tavernier up next. I just want to put him in the no chance category just to wind everyone up, to be honest with you. He is 29. And he's not playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. I'm actually going to put him in no chance. I don't think it's ever going to happen for Tavernier. He's had an outstanding season, but I think it's too late for him now. And I don't see players getting called up from outside of Europe's top 5 leagues under Southgate. I don't think it will happen. Not for me. Kyle Walker-Peters then. This right-back slot is just jacked, isn't it? It's pretty unlikely for Kyle Walker-Peters. I know he's still young. He's only 23. But Tariq Lamptey is probably ahead of him in my thinking. He's only 20. Matty Cash had a better season than him. He's only 23. He's the same age. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who is my other right-back in this role, I'm putting right up there, though. If I've got Kyle Walker-Peters in pretty unlikely, I've just dropped Aaron Wan-Bissaka into deserves a go. I just think we run the risk of losing him to DR Congo at this stage. And yes, he isn't the most exciting, enthralling player in the final third. Meme him all you want. You can't deny he's probably the best defender in this right-back list. And probably the best defender of any of England's right-backs. Especially one-on-one. If we were coming up against an outstanding left wing, let's say Mbappe was playing against us and it was England-France, would you want AWB one-on-one against him, or would you want Kyle Walker? I think I'd want Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So I'm going to put him in deserves a go. I think it's worth a shot. If it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. Okay, we're moving on to the left-backs now then. And I know James Justin can play both sides. So I feel like maybe I'm being kind to say he's just a left back, but I think prior to the injury he was right in my reckoning for going on the plane with England, so I'm putting him in deserves a chance. He's outstanding. I don't even think Leicester fans noticed the drop off post Ben Chilwell. That's how good James Justin has been this season. Mum just texted me, Ollie Watkins is in the squad. Exeter boy. Yes, he is. Absolutely delighted. We'll come on to him in a bit. But let's move on to Solly March. Solly is 26. And again, I think that it's probably past for him. I'm going to... 26 isn't that old, is it? I could put him in pretty unlikely. Where did I put... I've put Luke Ayling in pretty unlikely. And Luke Ayling is 29. So I'll put Solly March in pretty unlikely. He's been outstanding for Brighton this year. And Brighton's defence, as I said last week, has been pretty solid. It's the attack that's been a shambles. I'll put him in pretty unlikely. I could drop Luke Ayling back down to no chance. I'm going to drop Luke Ayling. I'm putting Luke Ayling back down to no chance. Just because the way I'm looking at this now, the amount of right backs ahead of him, James Justin could even play there. I've dropped Luke Ayling. I feel harsh, but he's 29. It's not going to happen. Matty Targett is up next then. He's 25. But I think he's more likely than a Luke Ayling or a James Tavernier. I think he's probably around the same sort of likelihood of Solly March, if I'm totally honest with you, if not a bit more likely. Not Matty Cash levels, but solid. I'll put him in pretty unlikely. He's not going to rip up any trees, but would anybody be that annoyed if he was called up as a left-back? I don't think they would. So I think Matty Targett is pretty unlikely, not quite injury call-ups level. Having said that, I'm looking at this now. I've got a lot of right-backs in there in the top 3 categories. I haven't got any left-backs. So do I put Matty Targett into an injury call-up level? Luke Shaw, Ben Chilwell ahead of him. Oh, I suppose I have got James Justin ahead of him. He can play that side too. No, I'm sticking by my guns. Pretty unlikely. All right, we're into the centre-backs now. And God, there's a lot of centre-backs here. Just looking at all of the names I've got in front of me, all of these players. Let's start with Chris Basham. He's 32. no chance. Seems like a lovely guy. Carries the ball really nicely, it has to be said, but it's too late for Chris. Craig Dawson, he's 30. He's had an outstanding season, but no chance. It's too late for him now. No. There's better centre-backs ahead of him. Even though he's playing really well in this Moyes system, there's better centre-backs on this list that I'm going to include. Ben Godfrey is definitely going to be one for the future. 23 years old, and I know that's slightly older. That's little Matty Cash age, and I put Matty Cash in injury call-ups, not one for the future, but I think centre-backs' careers can be slightly prolonged. I do believe Ben Godfrey will get England caps, and I really think he's come on leaps and bounds, already playing for Everton under Carlo Ancelotti, and he was great for Norwich too, so I'm excited about Ben Godfrey. Connor Goldson, another one for the Scottish fans, at 28, not going to happen. No chance for me, Connor Goldson. Again, liked having him, not playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues absolutely kills him. I know he's had a good season in the SPL, and he's had a really good season in the Europa League as well, because Rangers have done really well in Europe, but it's not happening. Rob Holding then. He's only 25, Rob Holding, and when I read that earlier, I could not believe my eyes. No offence, because he is a lovely guy, but I thought he was older than that. He just feels like he's been around forever, Rob Holding, doesn't he? And you know what? Pretty unlikely, I think, for Rob at this stage of his career. Just with Ben Godfrey ahead of him in the pecking order, I don't think he'll be a starter at Arsenal next year if they choose to bring back Saliba or sign another centre-back. Even when they've got all their full complement of centre-back, he's not a nailed-on starter, is he? So I think I'm going to put him in pretty unlikely. Mason Holgate is 24. I don't think Mason Holgate injury call-up, to be kind. No, I think if I'm not putting Rob Holding in injury call-up, I won't put Mason Holgate in there. I'll put Mason Holgate in pretty unlikely. Again, a lot of players in that centre-back position ahead of him in the ranks, aren't there, already called up, and even not part of the squad, the likes of Michael Keane. So he's probably Everton's third best English centre-back, in my opinion, behind Godfrey and behind Michael Keane. Sorry, Mason, pretty unlikely, because Ezri Konsa is going to go, obviously, and my deserves a chance. I love Ezri Konsa. Everybody knows I said in last week's episode I thought he should go to the Euros. Cannot believe he's not in this squad. I think it's a disgrace he's not in this squad, actually. And players like Eric Dyer, who hasn't started a Premier League game since February the 12th, is in the squad. Hope that's right. I'm going on Who Scored to check it. And if it is, I'm going to be even more angry. It's February the 21st. You know, it's like 3 weeks ago. Hasn't started a Premier League game for 3 weeks. Is he injured? What's going on? I'm typing in Eric Dyer injury now because I'm just flabbergasted he's made the squad. I spell injury with an E. That's humiliating. That's humiliating. It really is. But he's not injured. So why is Konsa not in there over it? Ben Mee up next then. At 31, the ship has sailed for Ben Mee. James Tarkowski has been capped at this stage. I think he's probably the better of the two, even though before Ben Mee came back into this Burnley side at the start of the season, they were a mess. I think people forget just how important his return was to them staying in the league. I still think there's no chance for Ben Mee. So I'm going to put him into the no chance category. Do think he's a good defender, though. Nat Phillips up next then. He's become a bit of a cult hero amongst Liverpool fans over the last few weeks, hasn't he? He does win absolutely everything in the air. He's got a bit of slab head quality about him. And I like the new shave trim. He's only 23. I couldn't believe this. I don't think he's going to be at Liverpool's level. When they bring centre-backs in and Van Dijk and Gomez get back to fitness and Matip comes back, he's not going to be a player for Liverpool in their first 11. But he might get a few opportunities in the Premier League. At 23, I feel like it's harsh to say no chance. Because he might prove me wrong. So I don't want to be made to look a total mug. I'm putting him in pretty unlikely. And people can laugh all they want. But you never know, do you? Adam Webster then, he's 26 years old. I couldn't believe how much he cost. By the way, I saw this, I think it was like 20 plus million from Bristol City to Brighton. He has been good. But at 26, there's still plenty of time for him. That's not a write-off. He would have to improve significantly, though, to catch up with some of the boys ahead of him. So, because he's only 26, I won't totally write him off. Although I feel like some of these other lads I put in no chance might be about 26. I think Connor Goldson's only 27, isn't he? Or 28. I'll put Webster in pretty unlikely. And then I'll put Ben White, the other Brighton centre-back, because he's only 23 in one for the future. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Webster. I'd be surprised if Brighton can hold on to him beyond the length of his current deal. I think he runs till 2024. I think that's when he signed that extension till. But Webster in pretty unlikely. Ben White in one for the future. I think that's fair. Tom Davies is up next then. And he's had an okay season, Tom Davies. Another slightly memed character. But not terrible. And he's only 22. I couldn't believe it when he got called up to the under-21s. For some reason, I thought he was like 24. So I'm going to put him in injury call-ups, I think. I don't think I'll put him in one for the future, even though technically he is, because he's with the 21s. I think injury call-ups probably more likely for him, because players like Jude Bellingham, who are only 20, have now been capped and are ahead of him in the pecking order. So yeah, I'm going to put him in injury call-up. I think that's fair. Conor Gallagher up next then. He's 21. Has he been better than Tom Davies this season? He has been good for West Brom. Whenever I watch West Brom, Conor Gallagher is their best player, other than Sam Johnston. And he could well go back to Chelsea and impress Tuchel a lot. But right now, I have to put him in injury call-ups, I think, because the next player on my list, Curtis Jones, I think he's probably more one for the future right now. I think he's slightly more advanced in his development than Conor Gallagher, and he's 1 year younger. So, for me, Curtis Jones is the better player. And Harrison Reed, 26. If Fulham go down, Harrison Reed should be staying in the Premier League. I think he's been exceptional for them as one of those screening free. If you talk to Patrick Van Straten about Fulham and who their best players have been, he will say the DMs. And Harrison Reed has been one of the DMs alongside Nongisa that's really impressed. So I'll put Harrison Reed in pretty unlikely. I could go no chance. Pretty unlikely. I think that's fair enough. And then my midfielders, am I happy with that split? Curtis Jones in one for the future. Conor Gallagher and Tom Davies in injury call-up, and Harrison Reed in pretty... I think that's fair enough. You know, Conor Gallagher and Tom Davies might prove me wrong and jump up a tier, but I think Harrison Reed and Curtis Jones, very fair. Okay, let's move on to wingers then. Jarrod Bowen is up next. I actually really like Jarrod Bowen. It's just a problem that he's in England's second PP, our power position. The wide slots at England are so jacked. It's ridiculous. Like, Bowen is probably like 10th choice. And he is uncapped. He isn't old though, is he? He's only 24. I'll put him in injury call-ups, I think. I think that probably is fair for Jarrod Bowen. It's not totally beyond the realms of possibility, if players like Jesse Lingard are getting called up again, that Jarrod Bowen could get called up in the future. Jack Harrison, I want to say the same sort of thing about Jack Harrison as I've said about Jarrod Bowen. It's an injury call-up. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. He has impressed with Leeds, but I think he impresses with Leeds. I'll put him in injury call-up for now because of how Bielsa plays football, how attacking they are. He does strike me as quite a Southgate player, though. It's just a shame that England, like I said, so jacked out there. Ryan Kent... another 24-year-old. I think Ryan Kent, pretty unlikely at the moment, especially whilst he stays out in Scotland. Needs to get a move to the Premier League or one of Europe's top 5 leagues before he's in consideration here. Adeloma Lookman, he's a year younger than Bowen and Harrison. And if you offered me all 3 of those tomorrow to sign for Manchester United, I'd probably take Lookman, which is maybe harsh on Bowen because we need a right winger more. But yeah, I'll put him in injury call-ups too. Do I go one for the future for Lookman? No, I'll stick him in injury call-ups again. As I'm going to put Dwight McNeil in there. I'll put Dwight McNeil in injury call-up because I really rate him. I think he is an outstanding 21-year-old. And Burnley are so lucky to have him. If he was playing for a better side than Burnley, he'd be catching a lot of people's attention right now. Oh, do you know what? I'm tempted to put Adeloma Lookman 1 tier up. And Dwight McNeil 1 tier up. I'm panicking here. No, stick by my guns, stick by your guns, stick by your guns. Eberiche Eze is going to go in one for the future. I just think that he can really puncture those 10 slots for England because Maddison and Mount are going to want to play there. Grealish is going to want to play there. And I think Eze is probably fourth in line to the throne for that number 10 slot alongside Emile Smith-Rowe, who I'll also put in the one for the future. Those two could be really neck and neck. I think Emile Smith-Rowe stands a better chance because he's at a bigger club. But don't write off Eze. I think Emile Smith-Rowe is probably the fourth or fifth choice 10 alongside Eze. Am I missing anyone obvious that can play there? Sancho, not all that, can obviously play there, but I'm including them in the wide category a little bit more. Moving on to the strikers then, I'm going to put both of these lads in deserves a go. Ollie Watkins and Patrick Bamford, I think, definitely deserve to be in and around the England squad right now. I don't think Tammy is getting the minutes that at the start of the season guaranteed him that third choice spot for England at the Euros. Because Calvert-Lewin and Kane, you know they're nailed on to be 1 and 2 strikers. I think the next striker spot, if it doesn't go to Rashford and he's included as a winger, is totally up for grabs between Tammy, Watkins, Patrick Bamford, Danny Ings. And Ollie Watkins offers an awful lot of assets that Gareth Southgate is going to like playing in a 3-4-3. He's going to be able to run in behind. He can chase down lost causes. He's a bit more athletic than a Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford is more of a penalty box player, and I think that's probably the reason he's not been included in the most recent squad. Also the fact that Ollie Watkins is 2 years younger, Exeter boy, delighted for Watkins. So I'm pretty happy with this overall list. I've been maybe harsh on Matty Targett and Mason Holgate, and I've been maybe harsh on Dwight McNeil and Lookman, but either way, there's a lot of England players that are uncapped that are very exciting. I want you guys at home to let me know how many stinkers I've had, because I'm sure there's plenty in there, and I'm sure there's plenty of Rangers fans that aren't happy with the likes of Connor Goldson going in no chance. But either way, this is what I'm going to settle on. So that's it for another episode of We Need to Talk, England editions, flying out at the moment. As I said at the start, please do go to manscaped.com, bang in the code FootballDaily, all one word, 20% off, free shipping, and you're supporting the channel whilst you're there as well. That would be a big thank you. Yeah, thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you later. Bye.